back, everyone. Canadian tourism into the U.S. continues to decline, down more than 30% last month compared to 2024.
Numbers from Statistics Canada show Canadians continue to shun travel to the United States. The data shows 1.4 million Canadians made return trips from the U.S. by car in October.
These travel data suggests Canadians are still staying away from the U.S., with Donald Trump's trade war leaving many of them making alternative travel plans. The CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa.
Did you know that Canadians are avoiding the U.S. in record numbers? In October alone, only about 1.4 million Canadians crossed the border by car, a drop of over 30% compared to last year. Air travel isn't much better, with nearly 24% fewer travelers flying south. And this isn't just a one-month slump. For 9 months straight, fewer Canadians have been heading to the U.S., leaving restaurants, hotels, and attractions struggling to keep up. But why is this happening? Is it politics, money, or just a change in travel habits? Stick around, because we're diving into the surprising reasons Canadians are skipping traditional vacations and what it means for the future of travel. Could the US tariffs on Canada be the main reason for this decline, or is something else driving it? Which destinations are stealing travelers away, and why? And how is this shift reshaping the travel industry on both sides of the border? Canadians are skipping the US, and the numbers are shocking. According to the latest data from Statistics Canada, only about 1.4 million Canadians made return trips to the United States by car in October. That's down more than 30% compared to last year. Air travel tells a similar story. Around 437,000 Canadians flew to the US, which is nearly 24% less than the same month last year. And here's the kicker. This decline isn't a one-time thing. It's been happening for 9 months straight. Month after month, fewer and fewer Canadians are heading south. It's not just a small drop. This change is big enough to hit the US economy hard. Experts estimate that international tourism spending from Canadians could cost billions in losses. Cities near the border like Detroit and Buffalo are especially feeling the pinch. Restaurants, shops, and attractions that rely on Canadian visitors are seeing empty tables, quiet streets, and slower sales. When people think of tourism as just fun trips, they forget how much it actually drives jobs, local businesses, and even trade between countries. And the pattern is clear. It's not only about the pandemic recovery or travel fatigue. Something else is influencing Canadians' choices. The numbers show that a lot of people are making a conscious decision to avoid the US, whether it's by car or plane. Canadians are increasingly looking elsewhere for vacations, and this shift is starting to create ripple effects in the travel industry on both sides of the border. But numbers alone don't tell the whole story. They give us the what, but not the why. Why are Canadians avoiding their neighbor to the south? What's driving them to choose beaches in the Caribbean or trips across the Atlantic instead? And how are these trends changing the way travel companies operate and plan for the future? In the next section, we'll dive into the reasons behind this drop. From politics and money to new travel habits, there's a lot more going on than just people staying home. You might be surprised at what's really behind Canadians turning away from the US, and it's a story that goes beyond just statistics. So why are Canadians suddenly avoiding trips to the US? There isn't just one reason. It's a mix of politics, money, and changing habits. First, let's talk politics. Over the past few years, tensions between Canada and the US have been hard to ignore. From trade wars to tariffs, and even some controversial remarks from US leaders calling Canada the 51st state, many Canadians aren't feeling welcome. For some, it's not just about borders, it's about sending a message. Traveling to the US feels less appealing when people are unhappy with the political climate. Then there's the money side. The Canadian dollar hasn't been the strongest lately, which makes US vacations more expensive than they seem on paper. A trip that might look like $4,000 or $7,000 suddenly feels a lot pricier after exchange rates. Gas and meals are factored in. Many families have realized that they can get more value for their money elsewhere. Instead of spending a fortune in Florida or New York, they're choosing destinations where their dollars stretch further, like Caribbean cruises, all-inclusive resorts, or even trips to Europe. Travel experts are also noticing a big shift in habits. Families who once traveled to Disney World every year are now exploring new destinations. Some are taking Mediterranean cruises, visiting Italy, or touring Ireland. Snowbirds who usually spend the winter in Florida or Arizona are trying shorter stays in places like Spain, Portugal, or Mexico. Even though they still want to escape the cold, they're experimenting with new locations and shorter trips. And it's not all about politics or money. There's an emotional side too. People want to make the most of their vacation time, especially after years of interruptions like COVID. Families are looking for experiences that feel special, exciting, and safe. That often means trying something completely different instead of sticking to the usual US trips. In short, Canadians aren't just avoiding the US randomly. It's a combination of cost, politics, and lifestyle changes pushing them toward new destinations. In the next section, we'll look at where they're going instead and why these alternative destinations are suddenly stealing the spotlight. You might be surprised which countries and regions are seeing the most Canadian travelers these days. If Canadians aren't heading to the US, where are they going instead? The answer might surprise you. A lot of travelers are turning to the Caribbean, Mexico, and even Europe. Caribbean cruises and all-inclusive resorts are booming in popularity. Families love them because everything is taken care of: meals, activities, and entertainment, so vacation planning is easier and the cost feels more manageable. Plus, the weather is perfect for escaping. Canada's long winters. Mexico is also a hotspot. Snowbirds who used to spend months in Florida or Arizona are now trying shorter stays in places like Cancun or Puerto Vallarta. Instead of 3 months, they may spend just a few weeks in a villa or condo. This gives them a break from the cold without committing to a long, expensive US stay. And it's not just families. Retirees and solo travelers are getting in on these shorter, more flexible trips too. Europe is another destination gaining attention. Some Canadians have discovered that a Mediterranean cruise or a land tour through Italy or Ireland isn't as expensive as they thought. When you compare exchange rates and overall costs, Europe can actually offer better value than a traditional US vacation, and the experiences are completely different. Historic cities, cultural tours, unique foods, and breathtaking landscapes that can't be found in Orlando or New York. Travel specialists are noticing something else too. Agencies that once focused mainly on Disney World or Florida trips are now expanding their offerings. Many advisors are investing time to learn about Europe, Mexico, and the Caribbean so they can give clients more options. Families who were once loyal to the usual US destinations are now open to trying new experiences, and travel companies are adapting to meet that demand. What's really interesting is that these changes might stick around for a long time. Once people discover how much more variety and value they can get outside the US, it's hard to go back to the old patterns. Canadians are exploring new destinations, enjoying unique experiences, and stretching their vacation budgets further than ever. In the next section, we'll see how all this is affecting US tourism and what businesses near the border are doing to try to win back Canadian visitors. The story isn't over yet, and the stakes are higher than you might think. While Canadians are finding new places to travel, the US is definitely feeling the impact. Cities and towns near the Canadian border are seeing fewer visitors than usual. Restaurants, shops, and attractions that depend on Canadian tourists are noticing the drop in sales. Some businesses have even described it as a serious hit to their bottom line. Places like Detroit, Buffalo, and upstate New York, which usually get a steady stream of Canadian visitors, are trying hard to adapt. Tourism organizations are rolling out promotions and discounts to lure Canadians back. Everything from special deals on hotels to restaurant offers is aimed at reminding Canadians that they're welcome. Some businesses are hoping that the upcoming FIFA World Cup and the US's 250th anniversary will bring travelers back. But experts caution that these events may not fully reverse the trend. Once habits change, it can be tough to get people to go back to the way things were. It's not just numbers on a chart. These declines have real economic Consequences. U.S. tourism is a major contributor to jobs, local business revenue, and even trade. Losing Canadian visitors affects employees, restaurants, hotels, and service providers. For a lot of small businesses near the border, Canadian tourists are a lifeline, and without them, profits are taking a hit. At the same time, the U.S. is trying to adapt to these changes. Some border cities are making targeted efforts to attract Canadian visitors with deals, events, and promotions. Travel experts are watching closely to see if these strategies work. While some Canadians may return, others might have permanently shifted their vacation habits to the Caribbean, Mexico, or Europe. The bigger picture is that this isn't just about travel, it's about relationships, economics, and changing priorities. Canadians are making choices based on politics, money, and experiences, and the US tourism industry has to catch up. It's a reminder that travel trends can shift quickly, and the consequences are felt on both sides of the border. So will Canadians return to the US, or is this the start of a long-term shift in vacation habits? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear, the world of international travel is changing, and both travelers and businesses are learning to adapt. In the end, Canadians turning away from the US isn't just a short-term trend, it's a mix of politics, money, and changing travel habits. Families are discovering new destinations like the Caribbean, Mexico, and Europe, where their vacation dollars go further, and the experiences feel fresh and exciting. Meanwhile, US border cities and businesses are feeling the impact, trying everything from discounts to promotions to bring travelers back. What's clear is that travel choices are evolving, and both tourists and the industry are learning to adapt. Whether Canadians return to the US in large numbers or continue exploring new destinations, one thing is certain: the world of travel is shifting, and the rules have changed for good.